So now that we understand what exactly movement is, what comprises movement and movement patterns, now we're going to see how strength is layered on top of a healthy movement pattern. When I say strength, all we're talking about is the ability to generate tension. And it should be noted within a conscious pattern, meaning within one of our movement patterns. And this really highlights the example of why we need to have a healthy movement pattern. If I have a comprised squat, and then I load that squat, whatever compensations I'm using to just do my body weight squat movement pattern are going to be exaggerated by adding the load to my system. So oftentimes people fall into the trap of thinking that by adding more weight that they're getting stronger, and yes, their larger muscles are getting stronger, but their movement pattern is suffering. So over time, you lose range of motion and you rely more and more increasingly on those compensations that are doing the movement rather than having a healthy movement pattern in which you're fully stable, where you have your mobility, your stability, and then you're able to execute that and increase the load over time in a healthy way. So really think about pattern specific. It's not just generating tension in one muscle. For example, we're going to use the press right now. When I put weight overhead, I'm in a pressing movement pattern. I could also be, for that matter, in a press if I'm applying force this way, like in a bench press or a push-up, or any angle between the two, between a horizontal and a vertical press. Anything in that realm counts as a press. Now, when I'm thinking of a press movement, we're going to use the kettlebell military press, going overhead as an example. I'm using my whole body to engage in a pressing movement pattern. So I'm stabilizing from my feet, and I'm driving all the way, activating tension as I go to get that bell overhead. It's not a shoulder exercise. We see a lot of people when they start trying to target specific muscles and they say, okay, I'm going to do my shoulder press, and then they have no tension and their strength is going to suffer. They're only going to be able to use so much weight because they're trying to just use this muscle or some muscle, whatever muscle they think their shoulder muscle is that they should be using. They're trying to just use that one specific muscle or a couple muscles to execute it. Isolation is impossible. It doesn't exist. Our body is wired to move as a unit. So here's a quick example. You saw the picture of the arm line on this post. Take one of your hands and just make a fist and make about, 50% tension. You'll feel your forearm contracting. Now increase that tension to, say, 60, 75%. Right away you can see my biceps, my triceps start to fire. Now if I try to go maximal tension, my biceps, triceps fully engaged, my lat is firing, my trap is aiding. All the muscles, I can even contract my pec like this. Every muscle along that arm line is now firing in order to create more tension, more strength. Likewise, as you saw, that arm line goes from one arm to the other. So if I'm doing something in just a one-arm movement, if I take my opposite hand and engage that one as well, now you can feel the tension. If I fully engage this side, now you can feel all this tension. It's called hyperradiation coming from this free hand that doesn't have a weight into it, into my working hand. So now I'm increasing the tension in this hand and this side of my body by using this free hand. Likewise, when we engage our lower legs properly in an overhead movement, now we're using all that tension from our lower body, linking it up through our core, which we talked about earlier, and now applying in that movement.